Hi everyone, my name is Fab and welcome to my channel. So today I want to make a list of the most anticipated thriller and horror books of 2021. So buckle up because we have a lot to cover. So starting from January, we have 3 releases, and the first one is Alan Baxter, The Gulp. This is 5 horror novellas and is the first book from a series called Tales from The Gulp, and this is regarding the Australian harbour town of Culpeper. Then on the 21st, we have a book by the author of The Chalkman, C.J. Tudor, and this new book will be called The Burning Girls. This is a gothic story about Reverend and his daughter, and I will just read you a little bit of what this book is about. 500 years ago, 8 martyrs were burned to death. 30 years ago, 2 teenagers vanished without trace. 2 months ago, the vicar committed suicide. Welcome to Chapel Croft. So this is a story about this vicar that moves into Chapel Croft, and he wants to make a fresh start, a new life, but when he arrives into this place, there are weird things happening in this place, and especially his daughter has vision of burning girls, and they didn't tell him that the last vicar that he's substituting has been killed. Then on the 29th, we have a book by Jacob Stephen Moore. This is called The Unwelcome and is a supernatural horror, and I will read you the synopsis for this one. A bad breakup with her college boyfriend Lutz has left Kate crippled with guilt and painful memories. So when she learns that her best friend Alice is planning a 3-day sabbatical in a secluded mountain cabin, Kate jumps at the chance to tag along. You should have known, Lutz will never let her go so easily. After a chance roadside meeting, Kate's jealous ex-boyfriend pursues her into the foothills, revealing the monster under her skin. For the first time, a body snatching inhuman entity capable of assimilating and adopting the guise of any human host. Lutz is determined to prove his twisted love to Kate, even if it means carving his monument to his devotion in the pilfered flesh of her closest friends. So this looks really interesting. Then on February we have one book by one of the author mentioned in the Paperback from Hell by Grady Hendrix, and this author is Lisa Tuttle, that on the 2nd of February is releasing a collection of short stories, 12 short stories that she has written between 1980 and 2017, and the title of this book will be The Dead Hours of Night. Then also in February we have a book by Graham Masterton, The Children God Forgot, and this is a collection, another collection, but with 3 stories. Then on the 9th of February we have a book by Cynthia Pelayo, The Children of Chicago, and this is a thriller and a retelling of the story of the Pied Piper. Then we have on the 16th a book by Sarah Gailey entitled The Eco Wife, and this is a sci-fi thriller that reminds kind of the Stepford Wives. And there is like this woman that has been cloned and into a more faithful and obedient version of herself to her husband, but this husband is cheating, and eventually this husband has been killed, and now the clone is the help of the wife, the original wife, to get rid of the proofs of something like that. That's what I got from the synopsis. And then on the 22nd of February we have a book by the author of Sadie, Courtney Summers, and this is entitled The Project. This book seems to deal with some kind of cult named the Unity Project, and this is the story of 2 sisters, one of which joins this project, and the other one is not really convinced about this this cult. It's not really a cult, it's like an organization, and she's not really convinced into the intent of this organization, because they claim they are doing charitable work, but she thinks there is something behind this project, and something sinister hiding behind the intention of this group. Then we have on the 26th of February a book by Mike Thorne entitled Shelter for the Damned, and this has been described like fast-paced horror and a study into suburban violence and teenage rage, something like that. In March, we have one of the most anticipated books probably by the horror community is the last book by Stephen King. It comes on the 2nd of March and is entitled Later, and this is a paranormal thriller regarding a child with paranormal abilities, and that is going to help a detective with his abilities to solve crimes from a killer that is killing from beyond the grave. So it's really intriguing, the story of this one, and is the third book from the Art Case Publishing after Joyland and Colorado Kid. Then on the 18th of March, we have a book by Catriona Ward entitled The Last House on Needless Street. And this is a gothic story. I will read you the synopsis for this one. This is the story of a serial killer, a stolen child, revenge, death, and an ordinary house at the end of an ordinary street. All these things are true, and yet they're all lies. You think you know what's inside the last house on Needless Street. You think you've read this story before. That's where you're wrong. In the dark forest at the end of Needless Street lies something buried, but it's not what you think. So this looks really interesting. Always in March, we have 3 releases on the same day, that is the 23rd of March. One is my most anticipated book for 2021, and is The Lost Village by Camilla Stan. This has been described like Midsommar meets the Blair Witch Project, and given I really loved both these movies, I can't wait for this book to come out. And I want to read you the synopsis for this one so you can have an hint of what it talks about. Documentary filmmaker Alice Lindstedt has been obsessed with the vanishing resident of the old mining town dubbed the Lost Village since she was a little girl. In 1959, her grandmother and entire family disappeared in this mysterious tragedy, and ever since the unanswered questions surrounding the only 2 people who were left, a woman stoned to death in the town center and an abandoned newborn, have plagued her. She's gathered a small crew of friends in the remote village to make a film about what really happened. But there will be no turning back. Not long after they set up camp, mysterious things begin to happen. Equipment is destroyed, people go missing. As doubt breeds fear and their very minds begin to crack, one thing becomes clear to Alice: they're not alone. They're looking for the truth. But what if it finds them first? So this is really, really intriguing for me. I can't wait for this one. Then we have a thriller by Peter Swanson entitled Every Vow You Break. And this reminds me of the song Every Breath You Take. I don't know if there is something related to this song. And also it reminds me about the movie Fatal Attraction, because it talks about woman that is getting married, and during her bachelorette party, she has like one night stand with a sexy guy that she meets somewhere, and she thinks that's over, and then now that she wants to marry her future husband, she will be very happy and satisfied about her life, but this man shows up again and becomes a stalker with her. He doesn't leave her alone, so it's a really intriguing thriller. And then we have on the same day a book by Tim Wagner entitled Your Turn to Suffer, and this is a revenge chilling story. I will read you the synopsis for this one so you can make up your mind about it. Lorelei Palumbo is arrested by a sinister group calling themselves the Cabal. They accuse her of having committed unspeakable crimes in the past, and now she must pay. The Cabal begins taking her life apart one piece at a time: her job, her health, the people she loves, and she must try to figure out what the Cabal thinks she's done, if she's have to have any hope of answering their charges and salvaging her life. So this looks intriguing. I think there is some kind of cult maybe in this story. I'm not sure. Then in April we have a few releases. The first one, there are three on the same day, the 6th of April. One is by Caroline Kepnes and is You Love Me. This is the sequel by You, the novel about the stalker Joe. And then we have a book that is one of my also most anticipated book of the year. This is Clay McLeod Chapman, and is a true crime horror novel inspired by the Martin preschool trials and the satanic panic of the 80s. The book is entitled Whisper Down the Lane, and it looks really intriguing to me. Then on the same day we have also a book by the author of The Winter People, Jennifer McMahon, and the new book is called The Drowning Kind and talks about two sisters and a dark past possibly involving the supernatural, so something like that. Then on the 13th we have a book by Lisa Hatfield, and this is entitled Such Pretty Things. The book cover is really chilling, and this is a horror novel that reminded me of The Visit. Basically, it talks about two children that are sent to their auntie, and when they're there, they think they will have the summer of their life, they will have a lot of fun. And this auntie always wanted to have children of her own, but she never could, and she thinks that this could be like an occasion to test her motherhood, but is overwhelmed by these two kids because they're too much for her, and little by little the past of this woman is uncovered by these two kids, and something dark is going to happen to them. So this is really chilling, really intriguing for me. I want to check this out when it comes out. Then there is a book by A.J. Elwood entitled The Cottingley Cuckoo, and this one is a dark story about Rose that works in a care home, and she meets an elderly resident of this care home that has a stack of letters in which they talk about the Cottingley fairies that are some photographs made by Arthur Conan Doyle about fairies, and then it was said that this was a hoax. This is a true story, by the way. And suddenly Rose becomes pregnant, is unexpected, and as she starts reading this letter, the menacing content of these letters becomes really dark, and she starts questioning her own pregnancy, and she thinks there is like some dark origin to this pregnancy. And I was thinking about maybe it's like Tinkerbell meets Rosemary's Baby. I don't know. Maybe it could be something like that, but this is what comes out from the plot that I read. Then on the 13th as well, we have a book by Carol Johnston called Mirrorland. This is another book about two twin sisters and some secret about their past. There are a lot of books about sisters this year. I don't know if it's like the trend of the moment, but then we have two books by Christina Henry, and the first one is Near the Bone, and this talks about a woman and her husband, if I remember well, and they're in the wilderness or the cabin, and there is a stalker, and they found the fox that is mutilated, and they think there is something weird surrounding the place where they're staying. So this looks interesting. And there is another book from her, The Horseman, A Tale of Sleepy Hollow, and I can wait for this one because Sleepy Hollow is one of my favorite movies. I hope there is something really chilling about this book. I can wait for this one as well. Then in May we have one release that is Greg Buchanan, 16 Horses. This talks about a small town where 16 horse heads have been found mutilated and they were buried somewhere. And when they found this 16 head, something weird started to happen into the city. There is paranoia, and it looks like a really compelling thriller. In June, we have two releases. One is on the 22nd, is by Kay Ancrum, and it's called Darling. This is a retelling of the Peter Pan story. And basically, Wendy is taken out by this charming guy called Peter that brings her to town, and she thinks they're going to a party, but instead they're going to the underground. They meet some weird people. There is a punk girl called Tinkerbell, and there are the Lost Boys that are people that Peter Pan is taking care of. And then there is an enemy that is Detective Hook, and then also Peter becomes like an enemy for her, so there's something weird about this guy. And then on the 29th we have another book release that is one of the most anticipated by the thriller and horror community, is Survive the Night by Riley Sager, and I will read you the synopsis for this one. Josh Baxter, the man behind the wheel, is a virtual stranger to Charlie. They met at the campus ride board, each looking to share the long drive home to Ohio. Both have good reason for wanting to get away. For Charlie's guilt and grief over the murder of her best friend, who became the third victim of the man known as the campus killer. For Josh is to help care for his sick father, or so he says. There's something suspicious about Josh. From the alternate story about his father to how he doesn't seem to want Charlie to see inside the car trunk. As they travel an empty highway in the dead of night, an increasingly worried Charlie begins to think she's sharing a car with the campus killer. Is Josh truly dangerous, or is Charlie's suspicion merely a figment of her movie-fueled imagination? So this looks really intriguing. On July, another book that is one of the most anticipated of the year by Grady Hendrix. His new book is The Final Girl Support Group. And I don't have much information about this book because looking online I couldn't find the synopsis of this book. There is just a string of story that says that basically these girls have survived tragic events, and they're gathering together. I think there are 6 girls, and someone is chasing them. So the premise of this book looks really interesting to me. And then we have a book by Erica Waters, The River Has Teeth, and I will read you the synopsis for this one. Natasha's sister is missing. Her car was found abandoned on the edge of a local nature preserve known as the Bend, but as the case goes cold, Natasha's loss turns to burning anger. She'll do anything to find answers. Della's family has channeled magic from the Bend for generations, providing spells for the desperate, but when Natasha appears on her doorstep, Della knows it will take more than simple potions to help her. But Della has her own secrets to hide. Because Della thinks she knows the beast who was responsible for the disappearance, her own mother, who was turned into a terrible monster by magic gone wrong. Then we have a book by Ronald Malfi that is Come With Me, and I will read you the synopsis for this one as well. Aaron Decker's life changed one December morning when his wife Allison is killed. Aaron is unprepared to discover the dark secrets Allison kept, and with each dark secret revealed, Aaron becomes more and more consumed by his obsession to learn the terrifying truth about the woman who had been his wife, even if it puts his own life at risk. In August we have a few releases. The first one is by Victoria Lee, A Lesson in Vengeance, and this is a gothic horror LGBTQ novel because the main character has a relationship with another girl and is set in a boarding school, so it looks really interesting for this setting. Then we have a short story collection by Brian Evanson, entitled The Glassy Burning Floor of Hell. And on the 10th of August we have a YA novel by Tori Bovalino entitled The Devil Makes Free, and I will read you the synopsis for this one because it looks interesting as well. Tess Matteson only wants 3 things: time to practice her cello, for her sister to be happy, and for everyone else to leave her alone. Instead, Tess finds herself working all summer at her boarding school library, shelving books and dealing with intolerable patrons. The worst of them is Elliot Birch, snide, privileged, and constantly requesting forbidden books. After a bargain with Elliot leads to the discovery of an ancient book in the library, a grimoire, the pair accidentally unleash a book-bound demon. This is plagued by terrible dreams of the devil and haunting memories of a boy who wears Elliot's face. The demon needs her, and he'll have her, dead or alive, so this looks really good. Then we have a book by Richard Chizmar, that is the one that wrote the book Gwendolyn Button Box with Stephen King, and his new book is called Chasing the Boogeyman. In the summer of 1988, the mutilated bodies of several missing girls began to turn up in a small Maryland town. The grisly evidence leads police to the terrifying assumption that a serial killer is on the loose in the quiet suburb. But soon a rumor begins to spread that the evil stalking local teens is not entirely human. Law enforcement, as well as members of the FBI, are certain that the killer is a living, breathing madman and is playing games with them. For a once peaceful community trapped in the depths of paranoia and suspicion, it feels like a nightmare that will never end. This is considered a work of metafiction and is a merger between horror fiction and true crime. That's how it has been described. Then the last book in August is on the 31st of August, and it's the new book by Stephen Graham Jones. Is the author of The Night of the Mannequin, and the new book is called My Heart is a Chainsaw. Jade feels like she's trapped in a slasher film as tourists go missing, and the tension between her community and the celebrity newcomers to the Indian Lake shore heads towards a tipping point when she feels the killer will rise. Then on September we have two releases. The first is on the 21st of September, and is by Thomas Old Huvelt, the author of X, and it's actually a new edition of X. I don't know if they changed something, because if you know about the story of this book, the version in Dutch was very different from the one that was written in English, because the author decided to rewrite this book for a wider audience. And I don't know if this will be something different or if it's just a new nice edition of the book. And then on the 28th of September we have a book by Lee Mandela Summer Sons, and this is a LGBTQ gothic novel. It's described as a queer Southern Gothic. So this is the story. Andrew and Eddie did everything together. Best friends bonded more deeply than brothers, until Eddie left Andrew behind to start his graduate program at Vanderbilt. 6 months later, all days before Andrew was to join him in Nashville, Eddie dies of an apparent suicide. He leaves Andrew a horrible inheritance, a roommate he doesn't know, friends he never asked for, and a gruesome phantom that hungers for him. As Andrew searches for the truth of Eddie's death, he uncovers the lies and secrets left behind by the person he trusted the most, discovering a family history soaked in blood and death. Reeling between the backstabbing academy world where Eddie spent his days and a circle of hot boys, fast car, and hard drugs that ruled Eddie's night, the walls Andrew has built against the world begin to crumble, letting in the phantom that hungers to possess him. So this looks really, really good. And last, because I don't have many info about the last part of the year 2021, probably there will be more books coming during the Halloween season, but I only have 3 releases in October that I know of. The first one is by, again, Thomas Old Huvelt. I don't have a synopsis of this one because at the moment it's just being published in Dutch. This book has been published actually in May 2019 in Dutch, so they're translating it in English and publishing it this year in October. The last 2 books that I have on this list are on the 19th of October by Cassandra Coe. I don't know how to pronounce his surname. It's probably Cassandra Coe. Yeah, I think it's Coe. But anyway, this is the synopsis of this one. This looks really good as well. This is a haunted house story. Nothing but blackened teeth. So, at an abandoned Japanese manor, 5 friends, still together despite secrets and fraught histories, gather to celebrate a wedding. Having always wanted to get married in a haunted house, the bride-to-be insists that they play a game to tease the dead from their rest. But they needn't have called. The house already knows they are there. So this looks really, really good. And then last but not least, we have a book on the 26th of October by Scott Carson called Where They Wait. This is described as a supernatural novel about a sinister app with fatal consequences. This is the synopsis. Recently laid off from his newspaper and desperate for work, war correspondent Nick Bishop takes a humbling job, writing a profile of a new mindfulness app called Clarity. It's easy money and a chance to return to his hometown for his first time in years. The hub itself seems like a retreat of old ideas, relaxing white noises and guided meditations. And then there are the sleep songs. A woman's hauntingly beautiful voice sings a ballad that isn't anything but soothing. It's disturbing, more of a warning than a relaxation, but it works. Deep, refreshing sleeps follow. So do nightmares. Vivid and chilling, they feature a dead woman who calls Snake by name and whisper guidance, or are they threats? And soon her voice follows him along after the song is done. So this is a really haunting thriller. So these are all the books that I've got for this list. If you have more that I didn't mention, you can write them in the comment section down below. I know that this has been a really long video, and thank you very much for staying till now. And if I apologize also if you heard noises, because I live in a really trafficked road, and I apologize about that. They're also doing works at the moment, so sorry about that. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to see more videos. And I'll see you into the next one. Bye.